Now, right at the start here, I want to warn you that there will potentially be spoilers for episode 9 in this video. And I say potentially because I'm going to briefly discuss the recent plot leak, which most likely or hopefully isn't accurate, because at best it reads like decent fan fiction, and at worst it would just make for a plain bad movie. Anyway, you've been warned, so click away now if you don't want this movie possibly spoiled ahead of time. Okay, with that out of the way, as I've said before, I usually don't discuss leaks and rumors because more often than not, they turn out to be dead wrong, like when they said the Knights of Ren were going to show up on Act 2 in The Last Jedi, and they weren't even in the movie. Basically, the problem with leaks is that anyone can claim to have insider information and come up with a story usually by piecing together little bits of information from trailers or what actors have said, and they can make a post on a place like Reddit and claim it's legit and it sounds pretty good. And sure, sometimes these people do have real insider scoops. Problem is, it's always hard to sort out the legit stuff from the BS, especially when there's going to be more of the latter. Anyway, the leak I'm talking about today comes from a Reddit user who goes by the name Jedi Paxis, and a link to the whole post can be found in the description below if you want to check it out, because really I'm only going to be going over some of the major plot points or the premise of the story, including the fact that, according to this, Palpatine didn't actually die at the end of Return of the Jedi. You know, when he got tossed down a shaft and the Death Star exploded around him. Yeah, he survived that and made his way out into the unknown regions of the galaxy, where he's now very physically weak and frail. However, he's been very busy in his time out there and somehow is responsible for the endless fleet of Star Destroyers we see very briefly in the most recent footage. And not only that, but these Star Destroyers are like mini Death Stars and somehow can blow up entire planets, because why not at this point? The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force, but damn do Sith love being able to do it. Though, my suggestion to the Resistance would be, if you want to take these things out, just do the Holdo maneuver. They're even nicely lined up for you already. Also, the Sith troopers we've seen shown off in the marketing, you know, the red First Order stormtroopers, well, apparently they're also somehow Palpatines, which would imply there's a connection between him and the First Order already in place, since they have very similar looking armor other than the color. Oh, and don't ask how Palpatine survived. The one who posted this said it does get answered in the movie, but that he doesn't know himself currently. Though if Palpatine did survive, what did Anakin accomplish at the end of Return of the Jedi again? He gave his life to save his son and kill Palpatine, right? But that son failed to go on to rebuild the Jedi Order and actually gave up on the Jedi. And it also now turns out that he failed to kill Palpatine too. Worse yet is, according to a book that's about to come out, the Force Ghosts had been communing or speaking and guiding Luke after the events of Episode 6, but they apparently either didn't know or just didn't bother to tell him that Palpatine was still out there building a massive fleet of Death Star Destroyers, I guess we could call them. As for Rey, don't worry, Leia has been training her in the ways of the Force, because apparently Luke trained Leia a little bit before she gave birth to Ben. And sure, the new canon has established that Luke did train her a little bit, but that ultimately Leia decided serving the New Republic was her place. And we're even supposed to get a flashback showing this, showing how Luke was training Leia for a bit. Though how Leia is qualified to truly train Rey now is beyond me. Not that she even needs it, since, according to the novelization of The Last Jedi, Rey just downloaded Kylo's training from his mind. Anyway, Kylo Ren is apparently on the hunt for some Wayfinder device that belonged to Darth Vader, a device that will be given to him early in the movie by some type of oracle, which we've heard many rumors about, and will then lead him into the unknown regions of the galaxy where he'll find Palpatine. And Palpatine will then tell Kylo Ren to bring Rey to him, because Palpatine's big plan is for them, Kylo and Rey, not himself, to rule the galaxy together. Yes, after all these years of preparing in the unknown regions, Palpatine's big plan is to see to it that the galaxy is ruled by someone else. The guy who, according to elsewhere in the new canon, wanted his empire destroyed if he ever happened to die because no one else deserved it, has changed his mind and wants these two to rule it instead. And you, of course, may want to ask why. Well, it's because Rey is his granddaughter, and Palpatine has apparently learned the importance of family. That it can be a strength, and the reason why he failed and why Darth Vader turned on him is because Vader didn't love him as a son would love a father, or the way Vader or Anakin cared for Luke. And no, I'm not joking, this is what the leak basically says. And to be honest, I find it utterly ridiculous that Palpatine would do anything for anyone else other than himself. So if this leak is true, I hope there's more to his motives than this, or they'll have destroyed the character of Palpatine too. As for Poe and Finn and all of this, well, apparently they'll be contacted by some mole within the First Order, which will turn out to be General Hux. He'll then tell them that Kylo Ren has found the Wayfinder device, which they won't know what it is, so they then get sent by Leia in search of someone who might, who turns out to be Lando, and he then sends them after some Sith artifact that turns out to be a dagger, with some inscriptions on it that C-3PO can't read. So they then find someone who can program him to read it, and oh how I hope those red eyes we see him with in the trailer doesn't mean that they'll turn red when he's reading the Sith language, or possess him, or anything that stupid. Please don't be that stupid. Okay, let's now move on from that, and I'm going to leave out some details here just to get through this as quickly as possible, but if you want to read the whole thing, again, there's a link to it in the description below. Anyway, apparently the dagger points them in the direction of the second Death Star, where Palpatine had another Wayfinder device. But before they get there, Kylo Ren makes a forced connection with Rey and tries to start her down the dark path so they can rule the galaxy together like Palpatine wants for some reason. Then when Rey and company get to the Death Star, Kylo Ren is waiting there for them after having seen where she was going in Rey's mind or whatever, and a fight between them ensues, with Rey tapping into the dark side to defeat him, and Kylo is pretty much left for dead, but has a vision of his father. Whether it be a Force ghost or hallucination is unknown, but if a Force ghost of Han Solo shows up in this movie, I really don't know what to say. Anyway, this visit supposedly turns Kylo Ren back to the light and he becomes Ben Solo once more, while Rey is so disturbed by what she's done and a dark vision of herself that she's seen, the one we get in that little teaser footage, that she pulls a Luke Skywalker and goes to Ahch-To, where she swears not to become a Jedi, at which point the Force ghost of Luke will show up, give her a pep talk, and hand her back her lightsaber. And my question at this point is, if he can hold a lightsaber, why not just go take out Palpatine himself, or join up with the other Force ghosts and do it? I mean, Yoda calling down lightning and Luke wielding a lightsaber should be enough to take out the withered and weak Palpatine, who wants to hand his empire off to his estranged granddaughter. And as much as I wish I was joking, let's move to the final confrontation. Because apparently in the end, the Resistance will attack the Death Star destroyer fleet, and Rey will go there seeking out Palpatine, who will tell her it's true, that she's his granddaughter, and since they're family, they can be as strong as the Skywalkers or something. I don't know. Anyway, eventually Ben Solo shows up, and Rey and Ben fight Palpatine together, but Ben is killed, and in the end, Luke and Leia show up to help Rey against Palpatine. Not Kylo, mind you, Rey. Oh, and did I forget to mention Leia dies from natural causes in this movie, something similar to Yoda, and then fades away and becomes a Force ghost, I guess? Anyway, this movie then ends with Rey going to Tatooine for some reason to construct a new lightsaber out of the pieces of Anakin's old lightsaber and the one Leia has given her at some point. And it'll have a gold blade. Yeah, you heard me. It'll have a gold blade because why not? The movie then ends with Rey at the Lars homestead, recreating the iconic scene from A New Hope with Rey looking out at the twin suns. That's how the Skywalker saga will end. Okay, now hopefully you enjoyed my slightly sarcastic breakdown, but getting serious here, if the movie is anything like this, it's going to be pretty bad. I mean, if Han Solo shows up in this as a ghost, if he appears to Kylo Ren in some critical moment instead of Anakin, if the Chosen One is not a part of this movie, or not the one who convinces Ben Solo to step up and stop Palpatine for good, then again, I really don't know what to say here. I don't know how you finish this story off without Anakin playing at least some key role, even if it's just a small part and he's in the movie for 30 seconds. And sure, there are some good or decent ideas in this, assuming any of this is real. I like the fact that Rey would be Palpatine's grandchild. That's at least something for the character. Also, I do like this idea that they'd at least try to give Rey a low point, or something to overcome finally. And most likely it'll be her dark origin, so that would keep with the theme of the character they've been going with from the start. That it'll show you that it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from, all that matters is what you make of yourself. Oh, and apparently Kylo is going to tell her who she really is during their first encounter, that he wasn't lying when he said her parents were nobody, but that her grandfather was somebody. That whole truth from a certain point of view thing again. But as for Palpatine himself, I'm really hoping this movie doesn't ruin his character. He was easily one of the best parts of the prequels, and those films turned him from some random bad guy that we see in the original trilogy into a truly mastermind villain. But I really don't know how he'd get off the Death Star before it blew up. That's going to take a hell of an explanation. He'd just fallen down a shaft, and we even saw that energy pulse or whatever happened when he apparently died or hit the bottom. Who knows? Plus, if he did survive all that, how do you make his way into the unknown regions and then have a fleet of Star Destroyers built? How were there two factions, the First Order and Palpatines apparently, that were doing all of this? How were they building these massive fleets and no one was the wiser? Where did they get the resources and the manpower? And again, how did the New Republic never find out? Hell, if the Force Ghost of Luke can show up and hand Rey a lightsaber, and he can show up and battle Palpatine with her in the end of the movie, why couldn't any of the other Force Ghosts, like Yoda, Obi-Wan, or Anakin, be bothered to go say to Luke long before any of this happened, hey, go tell the New Republic there is a lot going on in the unknown regions they should know about. Anyway, I really hope this is all nonsense, and no offense to the guy who originally posted it, if you happen to watch this. But I truly do hope that most of this isn't going to be even on the right track, because there's so much wrong with this story. So many things that, especially if executed poorly, are going to make for a really bad movie. And look, I'm trying to stay hopeful for Episode 9. I've said it before, I'll say it again here. I have to believe that, though maybe they can't salvage the whole trilogy, that maybe we could at least get a good movie out of Episode 9. So many people think I want Star Wars to crash and burn, or that I'm negative for the sake of being negative for whatever reason, but that couldn't be further from the truth. All I want is for Star Wars to be good. Good stories brought to us by people who know and respect the property. It's as simple as that, really. What I don't want are movies that involve villains who survive against impossible odds and then magically build fleets of Star Destroyers that can blow up planets. I mean, if this is what Palpatine's done this time around, why'd he bother with the Clone Wars and taking over the Republic from within the first time? He could have just spent 30 years in the unknown regions making that massive fleet, and the Republic would have crumbled at his feet because they had nothing to oppose him. I mean, how did Palpatine go from this amazing, well-crafted, and intricate plan in the prequels to this plan, to trying to hand the galaxy over to his granddaughter? Did J.J. Abrams watch the prequels? How are you telling me there's no super secret Sith sorcery involved in this? No plan where he's trying to live forever and reclaim everything he's lost? Nothing that really makes him feel like a Sith who just will do anything for himself. Why does he want Rey and Kylo Ren to rule? That's probably the biggest thing I have wrong with this whole leak. Why does he even care about his granddaughter outside of maybe something she could do for him? Some way he could use and manipulate her? Well, that's all I've got for this time, because there's really nothing more to say about all this. Most likely, it's just a bit of creativity out of someone on Reddit, though apparently this guy has posted accurate stuff in the past, or so I've been told. And if this is accurate, tell me what you think about it. Does this sound good to you, or not? Either way, let me know in the comments below, and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.